Greetings. My name is Chris Tittle. I'm the Director of Land and Housing Justice at the Sustainable Economies Law Center. I'm also an organizer with the Low Country Mutual Aid Fund, where I live here in Charleston, South Carolina, which is the traditional territory of many people, including the Natchez Crusoe tribe and the Gullah Geechee Nation. And thank you all so much for being here for our panel discussion from mutual aid to mutuality, surviving capitalism with radical care. We do have live transcription available if that will support you. You should see a button in the top left of your Zoom panel that says Otter AI, and that would take you to a separate window if it supports you to follow along with live transcription. And here is a direct link to that in case you're having trouble finding it. If you're having any problems and need tech support, you can direct message Winda or Itzel, who are also both responsible for organizing this panel and making it happen. So deep gratitude to both Winda and Itzel for inviting us all to be here today. This event is part of a whole series of conversations we're having this month as part of what we are calling Mutuality Month. You can check out all the upcoming events, including an in-person happy hour for those of you in the Bay Area on May 26th. We have a whole series of events centered around the theme of nurturance lawyering from our coworker Janelle Orsi. If you are a lawyer, a legal worker in particular, really recommend that you check that out. We also had an incredible teach-in on advising mutual aid projects last week by our coworker Erica Sato. I'll be referencing some of her materials later today. And we want to give gratitude to our many sponsors for making this month happen, including the 85 folks in our community who have donated already this month. This is also a grassroots fundraising campaign, and you can support our work as well if you are so moved by visiting our website. And I believe there will be a link to that page dropped in the chat. We are blessed with an incredible cast of panelists today. These are all organizations that the Law Center has the joy and privilege of working with, learning from, and supporting in different ways. In a second, each of these folks will have a chance to introduce themselves a little bit more. But we have from Repaired Nations, Ajman. Repaired Nations creates redress for historic trends of oppression through cooperative training and development for Black youth in the Bay Area. We have Dani from Prospera, who partners with Latina entrepreneurs to launch cooperative businesses that foster economic independence and well-being in immigrant communities. We have Javina and Brooke from Agroecology Commons, who cultivates knowledge sharing, community action, and global solidarity for decolonized land stewardship, collective healing, and justice within the food movement. And also we have Erica from the Serenity Community for Justice and Peace, which is a BIPOC-led intentional community and eco-village in Virginia. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm just going to give a little bit more framing before offering a series of questions to our panelists. So as you probably are aware, the last few years have seen a real flourishing of mutual aid efforts around the country as we've moved through a cascade of crises. But many communities have a long history of mutual aid as a way of surviving under systems of oppression, as a political practice, as a way to remake the world with radical care at the center. We've learned from Black mutual aid societies in the Jim Crow South to underground abortion clinics like the Jane Collective, and another moment when abortion was criminalized in this country, to disaster responses like Occupy Sandy in New York and the thousands of pandemic-related mutual aid efforts around the country. Mutual aid organizing has taken so many forms over the course of history. Here are a few core principles that tie together this body of work. Solidarity, not charity, which is about flipping the script of top-down led organizations that seek to provide aid to other people, but without involving them in the practice. Radical inclusivity, which is about starting with the premise that nobody is disposable, that everyone is worthy of respect, love, and having their needs met. And that support is free and unconditional, right? This is not about making a profit. It's not about means testing. It refuses to ask people to show proof of their need or to publicize traumatic experiences in order to receive help. And thank you to Erica, our coworker, for the cartoon and succinctly framing some of these principles for us. Mutual aid is everywhere. There's probably a mutual aid project in your community too. And in another sense, mutuality is everywhere. It's a core organizing principle of life on Earth. From the fruit tree that has to first feed another being before it can spread its seed, to the trillions of organisms in your gut that make it possible to digest food, to the granite mountains of the Appalachian Range near where I live that draw down CO2 and make possible a temperature range for life to exist. To quote Robin Wall Kimmerer, the indigenous scientist and author, all flourishing is collective. And to me, that's what mutuality is about. So with that, I'm now going to ask the first of our series of questions to our panelists. We have 3 questions prepared. We intend to leave some space at the end for you, the audience, to share your questions and comments. So please feel free to offer questions in the chat as we go. We'll be collecting those and then we can lift them back up at the end. So I'm going to start first with Dani from Prospera. Please feel free to introduce yourself a bit more and tell us a story about how mutual aid shows up in your day-to-day work. How have mutual aid practices informed and supported you?
Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Daniela Chrysler. I go for Dani. For everyone, it's shorter. I've been part of Prospera since 2013 in many ways, but I'm part of the staff since 2021. But in 2020, the pandemic hit us all, and it hit us in a particular way. Also, our community that we serve, which is the Latina women immigrant, and we realized that there was like in all this government aids, and we were not included, as many of our participants don't have the right documents here. So there was this fund that we were already thinking about, and I was one of those. I had withdrawn from from the cooperative that I have been with for 7 years, in order to start a new cooperative, and that was January, and then March came in, and so this fund was growing within the organization, and I was without a job. I didn't receive unemployment because I have been a worker owner all the time, and then also I wasn't being able to get any checks because I was married to a person that I was undocumented. So this fund came in, and we started. They call us. I have been a fellow for this organization before, and they call the fellows to start this fund. This fund was it's called Latina Entrepreneur Resiliency Fund, and the whole idea was that it was not, as you were saying, it was not charity, it was solidarity. So all the participants will be the people who will actually govern this fund. So the people that would benefit from this fund will be part of the governance. So that started, and I was invited to join the first governance committee. And that's how we've been doing mutual aid. I think since in all the programs it's embedded in many ways, but there was something that was really strong, or it showed very strongly because of what we were all going through. So we provided different rounds of distributing money for, but not only for the people, for the participants, but also for their businesses that they were starting. So everyone was like, oh, okay, I switch into, to online and it's fine. But all these people have not only didn't have the right technology, but also they didn't know how to work with this technology. So that was another way. We distributed computers, phones, hotspots, everything that was needed by these these participants to actually be able to switch, right? And then capacity, and then trainings, right, for people to be able to thrive in this new reality that we were living. And our main goal was for people not have to close their doors and be able to continue with their businesses, but also to help them with their personal situations, right? So if the computer was for the kids to still, be able to have homeschool, it was fine. It wasn't, as you said, we were not asking how they were going to use this money. It was just, this is what we need right now. And another thing was realizing about the conflict, and the conflict that we have, because we were involved, we were part of the governance, deciding how this money would be distributed. And then we joined with Selk and see how can we build that this is transparent and we can all understand. And so this governance structure we started working with Selk in this, and we created this transparency through, reporting to all the participants in our programs, how every decision was making, and the meetings were open to everyone to come and join and talk and, make this help us make the right decisions. So it was really a powerful thing, I think, for our community. For the participants, they started like, how can we help? How can we give something back? How can we be part of this? And so we started building committees so that they could actually be able to provide, to give back to the rest of the people. So sharing their skills with other people. And one of the committees that was brought up was a bank of like time banking. So that was also, it's been something that we've been building, and it makes me think about mutual aid. It is, there's a thing between, when you start this time banking, I was able to reach out to one of amazing person that I met before, that he was doing time banking in Chicago for a while already. And he shared a lot. And I realized that part of this was also, when you start something like that, is to trust. And I also started thinking, and we started thinking that as a community, there's a repair to do around trust. We, everything was taken out, and we were learned, like, what you do or what you thought or what you thought it was the right way to go is not anymore. And I think that so that's been building up, right? How to create that trust, how to repair, and how to bring this moving forward. This fund is still working, and we're still providing technology. We paid not only for the equipment that it was needed back then, but also for Zoom account, QuickBooks account, and different, what else? Suma Canva for some people when needed. So, and also we continue with the trainings, right? Everything around what we have offered the group. So, so I think that, yeah, that's I think I think it was like it brought everything that we've been building within this community of participants. And it was like we started from, we have a program that is called Explore Your Cooperative, and that was like you were in to this organization. And then we started a program that it's called Crece, and Crece means grow. And the way that works, it's a community where there's peer advising. Everyone that learns something can come in and share it and do a workshop for the rest of the group. So it's entrepreneurs like working with each other, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences. And this has grown, and we have built also another part of this, which is for all the community, not only for, people that can join for, having a lot time to do that, because also that's a reality for us, right? We work 1, 2, 3 jobs to start a business. It's really hard. So yeah, sorry about that. I took more than that. I just realized I didn't see the time before. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Wonderful to hear about that important work. I'm going to now pass it to Agroecology Commons to also reflect on the same question. Tell us a story about how mutual aid shows up in your work.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniela. I'm a part of Agroecology Commons, and we formed as, backgrounds and as farmers, educators, artists, cooperative business owners, and formed as a collective worker self-directed nonprofit that facilitates farmer to farmer education with a focus in agroecological practices. And then Brooke has a little bit more to share about that.
Thank you, Daniela. It's an honor to be here in this space with you all today. Yeah, I really see our work as a collective of supporting change being rooted in building cooperative relationships and networks, both for horizontal exchange and learning the technical skills needed to farm, but also political education and how we can use that to help build strategy and critical analysis for injustices within the food system. For us, agroecology is really a form of ancestral remembering on both how to steward the land, and in that, it's a pathway for us towards healing and mutuality, which Daniela can share a little bit more about what that looks like in practice for us.
What's really special about, the people that I'm fortunate enough to work with is we definitely embody mutuality within and without of the workspace. So I'm a part of a goat milking collective. And it's really beautiful to have the space to honor the natural relationship between animals and humans. It's a collective of about 8 of us, and we share the responsibilities for a herd of 20 goats and sheep, feeding them, sheltering them, protecting them. And in turn, we're nourished, with their milk, meat, and wool. We are responsible for milking, cheese making, some really good yogurt and ice cream making. There's rotational grazing for land stewardship and fire mitigation. We also lease them out to neighbors for fire mitigation. I'm mostly involved with butchering and harvesting. And then they're notorious escape artists, so lots of fence mending. There's feed sourcing, and there's a couple pregnant goats right now, so goat birth dueling and all of that good stuff. And it's beautiful because the collective really grounds itself in land-based healing, mutuality, and interspecies care. And I've been a part of cooperative and collectives for the last decade, and the beauty of forming collectively, it allows people, and specifically in this case, it allows people to access high quality foods without the 24/7 commitment and responsibility of being a steward. And you still get that access, but also I'm just a big advocate for collectives and cooperatives in all spaces. And then, yeah, Brooke is going to share a little bit more about how it shows up in Agroecology Commons work through our skill shares.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nava. Another way mutuality shows up in our work is we organize these farmer to farmer skill shares, and these are spaces where we seek to honor farmers' vital roles as knowledge barriers and community leaders. And it's a way to create a network and develop a relationship-based network, cooperation networks between farmers. And these skill shares rotate from different farms, and topics in the past have included things like diversified crop planning, goat milking, Black agrarianism, rotational grazing, heirloom grain processing. And we're really in these spaces trying to create horizontal peer learning that also fosters collective problem solving. And as you know, it can be really isolating to be a farmer. And these skill shares allow us to come together, find our common ground, build relationships, and reclaim knowledge and power for our land-based communities. And this is nothing new. These ideas of mutuality and supporting each other in these ways, while the skill shares are set, yes, on like teaching each other skills on our farms, but they're also so that we can all get our hands in and support one another with a bigger project that day out on the farm that sometimes we can't get done alone. And this idea has existed for time immemorial all over the world, the different ancestral practices, these kinds of communal work days, and they're often were rooted in agrarian traditions. In Mayan communities, they were known as the chuchuvals, tequios in Oaxaca, rojinegros in Nicaragua, in Appalachia, hoedown, because you were literally going to your neighbor's farm to support with hoeing down the corn at the end of the season in exchange for music and dance and food at the end of the night. Mutirãos in Brazil, talcuts in Finland, and nafirs in Sudan. There's a whole list of these terms around the world of ways our ancestors have gathered on the land to support each other. And it's incredible. It's incredible what we can do when we all come together on a task. Last month, we were up on the rooftop of Deep Medicine Circle, and within 20 minutes, we had turned a row that the farmer mentioned it would have taken her half a day to do. Or down at Mr. Scott's farm in Fresno, a dear elder friend of ours, supporting pulling drip tape and planting rows of cabbage and onions that he said would have taken him a whole day, or building a compost pile with 30 people in an hour, repairing irrigation systems. And so this is a beautiful way for us to not only work on movement building and sharing skills with one another, but also to show up in mutuality and care for each other's farms and lands. Thank you, Chris.
Lovely. Thank you for all those images too, what it looks like for y'all. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Repaired Nations, to Ashman. How have mutual aid practices informed and supported y'all's work?
Okay, thanks for the alley-oop, Chris. So yeah, Repaired Nations, we do a lot of work dealing with cooperative education, as well as helping start cooperatives by, of course, the education part, but also like facilitating some of the processes of, becoming official, understanding like the history of cooperatives, and also creating mutual aid networks across the country and abroad. And so I would say one of my favorite stories of mutual aid is how Repair Nations kind of helped spawn other cooperatives or collectives. So I'm also part of Rosso Collective, which is a cooperative that started from Repair Nations. Me, Michael, and Brother Peace. We actually started giving out groceries at the top of the pandemic, and it was something that we were able to facilitate because of other cooperatives helping us out, like Mandela Grocery Cooperative, as well as a few other local vendors that were able to put in. And so that collaboration allowed us to, go door to door and also set up at like Acton Berba and a couple other places to give out dry goods, fruits, vegetables, alkaline water, as well as self-care items that people really appreciated. People were going through a lot at those times, and I feel like that was just the prime time to show mutual aid and to be of help to others. And so Repair Nations actually helped, fund us starting and allowed us to, really kind of develop from there. And so, and also I want to just see if Michael was in the um, in the
Yeah,
Zoom.
I'm here. How everybody doing?
Please, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Michael, did you want to add to that of how like a story of mutual aid? I mentioned Rosso Collective, but maybe you want to add something extra to that as well.
Yes. Yeah. So, my name is Mikhail. I'm a part of Repair Nations as well. I do a lot of help with conference planning. We do a virtual and a physical conference every year to talk about cooperatives and collective works, get people to come together for resources and just spread knowledge about how to help people start cooperatives. And I guess one of the biggest mutual aids that Repair Nations has done outside of the works with other cooperatives locally is we help a lot of cooperatives internationally and globally, particularly out in Ghana. In 2019, went out to a conference out there, and it was our first cooperative conference, and it was a beautiful gathering. And from there, we were able to make connections with other people that were doing business in Ghana, and we were able to help them start farms out there. A lot of people needed help with starting farms. We was able to help with materials and equipment to help start farms. Another sister named Nana Ya, she's out there and she's building a cooperative living space. And we've been helping her over the last couple of years, give her funds to help build the space. And she's inviting people to come out there and just to be able to have resources while they're traveling in Ghana, Africa. So yeah, those are some of the biggest mutual aids that I can think of that we are part of locally, helping cooperatives build and bring resources, but globally over the African diaspora, providing resources and bringing people to collectively together. So those are some of our major efforts with mutual aid.
Yeah, and I would say we're complete.
Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing those stories. And last but certainly not least for this first round, I will now pass it to Erica with Serenity Community.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be talking to you all today and hearing the amazing stories of mutual aid that your communities and networks are involved in. You guys do some really amazing work, and I'm glad to be connected to you through this panel. So Serenity Community for Justice and Peace is a developing eco-village in Louisa, Virginia, that is focused on building an intentional community that is led by Black, Indigenous, and people of color. There are lots of intentional communities and eco-villages that I have visited on the East Coast and in the Midwest for the past 10 years. And something that I noticed in many of them was that 99% of their population was white. And when people of color tried to integrate themselves into these communities, it didn't work. So our community will be led by people of color and with people of color in decision-making and leadership positions. And we focus on justice work, elder care, and different community service initiatives. One way that mutuality shows up in our day-to-day work is we recently took on providing hospitality to an older woman that we found living in a motel nearby. She was paying a ridiculous amount of money to live in one room that had no hot water. And she was suffering, her mental health was suffering. She had, gone through a loss of her husband and felt very hopeless. So we brought her into Serenity House, which is a 4-bedroom house that we were given use of for the next few years until we build our eco-village up. And we brought her there to provide safer, more adequate housing until we could assess her needs and find a permanent living situation for her. So our programs have been funded by private donors. We are just getting our 501c3. We just got our 501c and we're working on applying for grants. So basically what I do is have done to support this project is go around and talk to different organizations and people in this area that have money and would be willing to help support our community service initiatives and our hospitality work. So with this woman, we found a couple through the Solidaire network that will pay for her housing costs for the next year. So what we try to do is something called personalism, which is taking the problems that are directly around your community and not waiting for the systems that are already in place, which people fall through the cracks of all the time, and try to directly help those people. Another way that Mutuality shows up is that we help support 4 community fridges in the Louisa area. Many undocumented people have a hard time accessing food from food pantries. There are awful stories of immigration being called on undocumented people who go to food pantries. So we decided to, well, a different community set up these community fridges that people can access 24/7 without having to show any documentation. You know, these fridges are just set up at churches, one in a trailer park, and you know, you don't have to speak to anybody to go into the fridge and get the food. So Serenity Community sources food from different farms and the food bank in the area and delivers food to those fridges. Another way that we are focusing on mutual aid is we are working with Living Energy Farm, which is a farm that is focused on solar energy. We are working with them to help distribute solar ovens and solar panels and solar lights to people suffering from poverty and unreliable energy in Puerto Rico. So Serenity Community will be a home to activists and people who are dedicating their time and their lives to environmental justice and social justice and racial justice. So with this project, we have Puerto Rican activist and electrician Tito Kayak coming to Virginia in June to train on installing solar energy systems so that we can go out there in November and help install them in places where people can access them, like decentralized kitchens and soup kitchens and places like that. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for that, Erica. And I really just love the through line, one of the through lines that I'm hearing in all these stories about how folks are proactively creating collective containers of care and ways that are envisioning new worlds from the beginning. And yet many of us have been forced to respond to crises with short-term mutual aid responses, you know, despite the fact that climate chaos is advancing, inequalities worsening. So the next question for the panelists is, what can we do to move mutual aid responses towards a practice and a way of life and beyond just emergency response? I'll put that question here in the chat so you can follow. And I'm actually gonna pass it right back to you, Erica, if you're willing to lead us off on this next question.
Yes. Sure. So I think that a way that we can stop these crisis-based responses is to build self-sufficient communities with food forests and sustainable agriculture practices, co-housing communities that trade with each other and provide mutual aid to each other, and work on projects in our communities and with each other's communities that focus on solving climate change issues, ending white supremacy and racial injustices, and lessening class inequality. Living closely and connected lives with each other allows us to consume less and ensure care and support for each other. Long ago, people lived in ways that were much more supportive to each other than what is currently the norm in society. You know, Brooke from Agroecology talked about the days, community work days, where people help each other garden and do different projects that would take them a very long time to do without the help of their community. You know, that's very important. You know, living closely with each other allows us to teach each other the many skills and all the knowledge that our ancestors have passed to each of us. We can share that with each other. Women are not in the US are not breastfeeding as much as we have in the past, and I believe that's because they don't have any aunts or breastfeeding women that are close to them that they are comfortable with to show them. You can go to a lactation consultant, but that is not the same as a close friend or an aunt or a neighbor who are close with showing you how this is done. Families are uncommunicative with each other because the parents are working long hours and commuting. The communities here in Louisa, there are several intentional communities here. Twin Oaks community, Acorn community, Living Energy Farm, a Catholic worker community that I currently live at and is not Catholic at all. Catholic workers a lot of times are not Catholic. And so I live here, and all of these communities share labor, we share childcare, we share food with each other. And these communities run businesses from their land collectively and work in various positions in those businesses. Everyone working together for the collective good of the community and its businesses helps people be able to have more time to develop their own interests and pursue the things that that sustain them.
Great. And I'll pass it over to Agroecology Commons to reflect on this question and maybe build on anything you've heard so far.
Brooke, do you want to go first?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess moving beyond mutual aid as an emergency response requires the embodiment of mutuality. If I'm without, then, or if my neighbor is without, then I'm without. We have to move past the individualistic nature that these systems that were forced upon us, you know, we're really we're sheltered from each other, from knowing our neighbors. So with, you know, community care, with collaboration, with cooperatives, with collective living, we know that when I'm without, then I'm not alone. I'm not suffering by myself because there are others that are there to support me. And so really it's mutuality and reciprocity feel like essential aspects of a values-based cultural shift to one of solidarity, interconnection, and cooperativism. Brooke?
That was beautifully said, Daniela. Yeah, I agree. This, moving beyond this space of crisis and thinking of how do we create long-term viable forms of mutuality and care for our communities. And I think this is deeply rooted to this agrarian question of land, knowing that land is deeply connected to liberation, and that we in learning from that too, of how do we take mutuality or mutual aid and really center it into movement building. And part of the work is teaching the technical skills, but also the political education that comes in those spaces, and that we really believe that those deep relationship based in trust and connected to social movements rooted in solidarity and reciprocity are going to be some of the strongest drivers of change. In February, we brought a group of farmers down to Nicaragua to learn and exchange movement strategies with farmers from the ATC, the Asociación de Trabajadores de Campo en la Vía Campesina. And there was just an incredible opportunity to see in ways in which our movements and our strategies are united, and also how we can be learning from one another and build a global movement for agroecology and land justice and agrarian reform. And I think centering mutuality in this very politicized context, but also one that's deeply rooted in care and solidarity is essential.
Love that. Thank you all so much. With that, I'm going to pass it over to the Repaired Nation folks, and would love to hear what this looks like for you. How do we move beyond emergency response to creating durable containers for mutual aid?
I feel like we have to, well, I would say we don't have to. I would say one suggestion is that we follow, a model like Jackson, Cooperation Jackson. They wrote a book called Jackson Rising, where they kind of go into their strategy of mutual aid and their strategy of really creating a new economy in Jackson, Mississippi. And one of their ways of doing that was creating groups where folks come together and assess the needs of the community. And those groups then come together and create policies or try to affect policy. So there's like a political engagement that's secondary to the community coming together first. And so I feel like they call them people assemblies. So those people's assemblies, I feel like, are very important for us to do, and for folks who are willing to facilitate those to do so, and then those who care about their community to participate and let their voices be heard. And I think they should be done not necessarily within a governmental aspect, like not necessarily listening to the city council or whatever, and no shade to them, but more so like, what do the community has to, what is the community saying, and making those needs met by the political structure, so really distilling what is the common need and then pushing those forward. And I think the way that they were able to do it is very inspiring. They were able to get Choke Lumumba into office, and he was someone that was brought forth to the political system from the community, you know what I'm saying, and he already had like an allegiance to the community. And unfortunately he passed, soon after he was put into office, but very mysteriously also. But that's beside the point. The point is, like, they were able to do that and had a priority of first, asking themselves, like, what do we need and how do we get there? Well, first, what do we need, and then discussing like ways of getting there, and then bringing that forth to the political engagement, rather than just people just saying we go to the city council meeting and people are yelling, doing this and that, like kind of disjointed. Like, how do we come and unify, and be a little more strategic? So That would be one way. Michael, did you want to add to that, brother?
Yeah, I want to add that everybody on here is doing the work to help to increase mutual aid outside of just being temporary. I think creating a new system and a new structure of this society is most important. Creating independent spaces where people can come and get resources. At Repair Nations, we're doing a program called Oconda, where we're advocating for collective and cooperative housing, where people can come together and have housing, but do cooperative business models and come together and live in community. So models like that are very important. Also, people being ready to farm and raise land on their own, outside of the government and outside of, the systems, maybe that's not supporting them as much as they would like to. Yeah, and it's people having information to share with folks about cooperative and collective works, starting programs to help people with services for mutual aid, and yeah, just people coming together like we're doing and doing the work. So yeah, that's one thing I'd like to add.
Yeah, I would say that also creating a consistent resource, like giving away food and resources on a regular basis, and like keeping maybe even a database of folks doing that work, so that folks who aren't really tapped in with the cooperative community can get tapped in and learn about it. So maybe folks who are into that, like journalism or just accumulating data, like doing that and then spreading that to the wider community, that could also be a way. And then
Thank
yeah,
you
I
all
would
so
say
much.
that's it for me. Oh, did you want to say something else, brother?
No, those were amazing responses. Thank you all for, yeah, pointing to living examples of it and the work that you're building now. With that, I'll pass it over to Dani from Prospera to share a little bit more about, yeah, what does this look like as a practice, as a way of life for y'all?
Yeah, I was thinking, I agree with what our friends here have shared also totally. And I'm thinking on regarding to our organizations, I think that what I see what I've been seeing, that we can still grow it stronger and move it forward, is this collaboration among organizations and social moves that can strengthen, right, our building these bridges with our community. And I think that that's a way we can, bring this to move forward and continue this, like walking the talk, no, kind of. We're seeing, for example, in our organizations, we build it at a strong community within this pandemic, and it's an extra space. It's an extra space to bring all this information, as John was saying, like Adman was saying, is share this information, bring cooperatives, the business model, and more widened, right? Like more available to everyone information. In the case of with our community, there's a lot of barriers that we need to address, and but also there's a lot of knowledge that we need to not unlearn. We need to remember, right, and bring those practices back to be the new practices, and know the old practices. So I see that as a way of getting rid of money, most likely. Getting rid of money. I think that we need to understand that our relationships are more powerful. What you build around the communities is actually what is going to, accompany you, or bring you stronger, or remember how we used to do things, and not and get rid of and then unlearn all the stuff that we've learned after. So I think I think we need to walk the talk. We need, as organizations, we need to walk the talk. We need to build these bridges to help communities to be more stronger. Because even if we want it or not, there's all this lack of resources that they have. It's all this access to resources as well. So taking care of that, if we can do that part, I think that's a very strong thing that we can do. Help them to reach those resources so that they can be also stronger, right? So yeah, I would say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Before actually going to our third prepared question, wanted to actually lift up a few of the audience questions. Dani, you just spoke to this idea of unlearning, what we need to unlearn, to let go of, to dismantle, the ways of being that have been imposed on us growing up under capitalism and imperialism. In my experience, being a human with other humans is complex, particularly in collective and political spaces. And we had a couple of questions that speak to this, like what does it look like to be in conflict with each other, and how do we avoid burnout as we build these durable mutual aid projects? So I kind of want to toss this out to all of our panelists. Maybe I'll read one of Cecilia's questions from the chat. What kinds of things have folks in here done in preventing and addressing harmful power dynamics from reproducing themselves within your relationships, collectives, organizations? And what are some meaningful things you may have learned from working through conflict together? Anyone feeling called to speak to that?
I can go with you. Yeah. I think this is a continuous topic when we work in cooperatives, and that's where I have all my work and I put all my passion and energy there. And I think that it's something that it's also part of this unlearning to see conflict not as something disruptive, but more something like it is an option. It is a door, an opportunity to change things, to think about things. Sometimes we're all involved in moving forward and having a better quality life, or a better way of doing things, and then we miss things. When we have a group together, working together, making decisions together, confidence is going to rise up, as in our regularly lives it does. And I think that the way we address it, and also the way we prevent it, it's something that works. People is scared of, we avoid conflict, right? But it turns that conflict to be bigger because we avoid it, and it's right there. It's something that it bothers everyone. So I would say that those practices that need to be part of our working together in every environment, like if it is a professional, or if it's a co-housing, or a way that we where we live together, where we spend time together, we're going to make decisions together, because that's the right thing to do. We need to involve everyone in the decisions. So I think that, and I think that the way of I think that we haven't been also taught about communication skills, and also that comes from trauma. I think it is like you want to avoid certain kind of people. You want to you build this wall to certain topics or to certain people. And I think that is part because we don't know how to communicate. And I think that is also that it needs to be embedded. I've seen in cooperatives, when you don't address those issues, and you don't train people, they stop participating, and that becomes an issue at the end. So people that continue their participation get burned out because they are, taking more responsibility, and they want to do it because it's a good thing that we're doing. And at the end, it doesn't work. That person is going to burn out, and the rest of the group is going to suffer anyways. So I think that providing this, the tools so that we're clear, we're people, we're gonna have conflict, we're gonna have to change things, we're gonna have to have this hard talks, and but that's gonna make us stronger at the end. That's the way I see it. Thank you.
I can answer right quick. Yeah, I want to say that conflict is something that's always been around. People haven't been agreeing on the planet forever, but this concept of war and fighting amongst each other is something very new. As far as when you have a conflict, it has to be a war or a fight, and it doesn't have to be like that. Like the good sister was saying, our communications and traditional ways of handling conflict has been lost, and we have to remember that. And some of us are going back into our ancestral ways and finding ways that we used to handle conflict. We used to have a lot more counsel in ancient times where elders were more involved in the community, and they were able to sit with the youth and bring up issues and help to solve the issues based off their wisdom and knowledge. I don't see that happening too much in society as often as it could be. I know in our cooperative and repair nations, we had some conflicts in the past, but we are family and we love each other, and we sought out ways to resolve the conflicts. We had mediation. People come in to mediate meetings with us in the past. We had counselors to come in to speak to us about techniques of how to deal with conflict and how to communicate and work with each other. And yeah, it's been very helpful. And a lot of the conflict at times come up from just different beliefs. Honestly, spirituality beliefs, sexuality beliefs, family beliefs, or religious beliefs, whatever beliefs that we have that are different. A lot of times that causes conflict, but all these differences are something that truly are universal. Like, everything that we usually have issues about is something that we're trying to come together on at the end of the day. So I would say that, a lot of us need to be more humane and be more soft and gentle with working with each other, and to be able to resolve conflicts. And as far as working cooperatively, like we have to be the examples for people to see how to deal with conflicts and how to work properly and how to deal with issues. So yeah, that's all I'm going to share is that, conflict doesn't mean war. And, it's a good thing to bring up issues when they need to be brought up at the moment so we can move past them and not hold on to them and keep building on negativity. And I'm complete.
I think we need more spaces to speak openly, whether that be in smaller groups or in large spaces about the things that concern us. I guess that goes back to like the the um, people assemblies. But I also feel like, like what Michael just said, as far as like sexuality, I think that's something that's big in the Black community, especially. Just how do we find unity amongst us, but still hold on to, our individuality. And I've seen that happen where people feel unheard and, unseen. And I really don't like that. I feel like the division that we're seeing is really making it harder for us to have these mutual aid ideal society. So, I feel like, yeah, we just need to have open space where we can speak openly without um, being seen as, other. No one wants to be other. So let's have those spaces where we can hear each other from the heart first. And even if you don't agree, like, just really like have that time and that space where you kind of suspend your own view and really just kind of internalize how another person sees things, in hopes that, not to change your mind, but like just have some compassion, and I'm complete.
Yeah, some powerful words there. Anyone else on the panel want to speak to this particular question?
Sure, I can speak just super briefly. I resonate with everything that's been said already. But what's most important working collectively within community is you have to be honest with yourself first, and you have to be honest with the people that you're sharing space with. If that little ting goes off in the back of your head, you have to share that, because otherwise that little ting becomes a rock, and then it's a stone, and then it's a boulder. So vulnerability is really important, and feeling that you're in a safe enough space to bring up any issues that arise.
I would like to add, that was really great what you said, Jennifer, safe space. I think we need like some sort of, I saw somebody put in the chat that they're going to help people with, doing time banking and stuff like that. I think we need like a rubric on how to have safe spaces. You know what I'm saying? And like a collectivized, like standard way that we can kind of pass around so folks know how to facilitate that, because that may not be a skill that everyone has innately.
Yeah, I will just add, I love everything that folks have been saying, and really approaching conflict not as a place of like harm, but as a place for transformation and, compost. Like, that is where we can nourish each other out of those experiences when we choose to compost certain things. And also remembering the question also is like, how do we address burnout, as organizers, as activists, and this whose work, it can be so much. And so collectively, as a worker self-directed nonprofit, we have, we're in a circle structure, non-hierarchical, and we have a whole circle dedicated to wellness and anti-oppression. And that takes, has many different aspects, but one of those things is just holding a really simple practice of holding a monthly wellness day for us as a collective, and really taking care of each other as community, and just little things of like going on hikes with one another, or shout out to another cooperative, the Good Hot, last month, where we all went and just like sat in a sauna and just were with each other in community, and bringing joy into collective spaces like that, and care, I think, is also really important to address burnout.
I just want to say that as a new and forming organization and community, I really, really appreciate all of the knowledge that my fellow panelists have shared regarding conflict resolution and burnout, and things we can do to address those issues. I think that having a mediator that your community can call on, or several mediators that a community could call on to step in when there is conflict that is unable to be resolved between its members, is really, really important. And in the forming stages of our community, we have experienced some conflict, and I think making sure that the people you're working with have the same vision as you, or being willing to change part of the vision in order to make sure that people feel fulfilled and like they are working on something that they are passionate about. I think flexibility and having a network of people to support your community with conflict resolution and mediation is really, really important.
I think this question leads very well into the next question that we had prepared, actually, in some ways, which, moving from this idea of conflict as an opening for transformation, and the importance of building those skills together. How have y'all used the principles of network building and mutual aid to keep your work rooted in community and to bring new people in and build relationships and mutuality? Prepared Nations, Ajman, do you all want to start with that one?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat as well. how do we use the organizing principles of network building to keep our work rooted in community and to bring folks in, build relationships and practices of mutuality?
Um, Okay. What one thing that comes to mind is, I know that we're all very humble people in this chat, but I would say sometimes you gotta let your wins be known and speak up on them so folks can hear about it and know what you're doing, because folks may not know what's going on. So I would say share your wins and your losses. Continue to tell the story of your work, and I feel like that could inspire people to get involved. So that's one suggestion. Michael, you got any?
Um, bring people together, build relation, practice mutual. Well, you know what? I would say that actually Repair Nations, we're in the process of building up our network to be support with mutual aid. Like I said, we are organization that works locally but also globally, and we've been building up an international network over the last 3 years, 3 to 4 years, where we've been meeting people from all over the planet, all over the globe, keeping them in our network, um, pairing people together to have similar projects and resources, and making sure that we're building on everything that we're working on. So I would say that one way is to start locally in your environment with people like the other 6% on the line that you have agreements with on your common missions and goals. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, sometimes we do make partnerships and we do make business partnerships with people, but it's more for a financial gain rather than it is for the actual common goal for everybody's working for. So don't settle for money when working with people. You know what I'm saying? Like, work with people who have your same values that you want to work with, and grow locally from there, and then keep expanding that network to folks globally who have the same mission and vision as yourself. And it may not always start off fast, you know what I'm saying? You have to really build on it. Like I said, we've been building on this for 4 years, but our network now has expanded really globally, and we're happy to see that. And we want to start a private secure network as well, where folks can just access information just through our network. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something that a lot of folks are working on right now, private secure networks outside of the internet and outside of the the government scheme of things, so we can have some actual security and everything that we're doing. So I would say that that's a good way, is make your network with people that you have the same common goals with, and then make it as private and secure as possible. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Is anyone else on the panel ready for this one, or should I pass it to Erica? You're on mute.
Sorry. I think a way to get more people into your network is to hold events and workshops in your local area. Like, look at a problem that is in your community. One thing that I did was I saw that in my community, women and parents were unable to afford diapers for their children. This was something that was just, there was local Facebook groups, and people were always putting out calls like, I need diapers, I don't have diapers, I don't know what to do, I can't afford diapers for my child. So I started a workshop at the local library that taught women how to, and parents, because there were single dads there too, how to make cloth diapers. And we all made cloth diapers together. And I taught that we learned how to properly use them and clean them. And by doing this, we were able to make sure that these children had diapers, and also combat the waste that conventional diapers cause. Our landfills are filled with diapers. So, and this brought people into helping us with the food bank. And it just expanded my network much further just by offering a something to a teaching or food, and providing for people will help bring them into your communities.
Food is always a great organizing strategy. Thanks for that. Danny, how about you and Prospera? I'm sorry, I think you're on mute still.
Yeah, sorry. I think that I share a little bit what we've been trying to, but I was stuck with what Ajman said, like put the word out, like be in these places, share what you do, like bring more people in. I think that's a great strategy to grow. And I was thinking about my journey with worker cooperatives when I started being part of this cooperative in San Francisco that provided green cleaning services. I didn't know anything about cooperatives, and my way of learning was showing up on these places. My first stop was Legal Cafe, and I met you guys, and then there I learned about the federation, about what they were doing. So I attended the first conference here in the West Coast, and then there I met a lot of people that were doing cooperative. I don't know. See that what I mean is like start building this this community around what we're doing and helping, bringing people in, sharing. I think the storytelling is a very, very strong tool, because and I see it because our programs are facilitated by people that have been graduated from these programs, and I see how the impact that is for people to learn from their peer. Like, I did it, you can do it, I did it, you know. And this is how we work around finances. This is how we started when we started our cooperative. We received this training, and then we brought it to the rest of the group, and now now they're doing it as part of this program. Now they're participating and they do one of the programs. So I see that is also powerful. This is what we've been doing, like sharing the story. We also created a podcast, and that has, you know, people getting related. I think we need to, if we want this communities to be stronger, yeah, show up right in this space, and like take the opportunity, because I know we work a lot and there's a lot of work to do, but you know, make the effort, and also share or help other people to share their stories.
Thank you for that. Agroecology Commons, y'all have any thoughts you want to build on for this question?
Yeah, it's definitely just like, you know, yeah, showing up and like talking about what's in your heart, listening. It's been really beautiful. Michael and I have known each other for a while. We met, we were both co-owners at Mandela Grocery Cooperative, and Michael used to be a customer there. And so, you know, that's how it's like incorporating the people that are already there. It's like Michael was super knowledgeable about all of the products in the store. And one day our other coworker asked him, like, do you want to be an owner here? And how I got involved with Agroecology Commons is we were collaborating on a grant at Mandela. And now I'm a founding staff member of Agroecology Commons because I wanted to work more with the farmers. And then at Agroecology Commons, we have BAF graduates, our farmer to farmer training course. We have participants that are now going to be teachers this year. So as the more people you meet, the more people that are excited about what you're doing, the bigger your community grows when you give them the opportunity to join. And it doesn't have to be like an organization either. It can just be when you have extra food, or I don't know, you bake too many cookies and you don't want to eat them, like take some to your neighbor, go say hi, or organize, like see if any like people in the neighborhood want to get together for a barbecue and have like a block party or something. It's like, it doesn't have to be through these like entities. It can just be people to people, like human to human. And through that trust, through that connection, you can find out what other people are struggling with. Maybe they're struggling with the same thing because you're in the same neighborhood. And that's how you can start to organize together. And it could be casual, it can be over tea. It doesn't have to, you know, there's many ways to do it. That's all for me.
Yeah, I think what's really nice in the case of like agroecology is there's like everyone is welcome to the table. Like there is a space for everybody in this movement, you know, like we need people with an array of skill sets, not just farmers, but we need folks that, you know, want to support cooperative markets, and people who want to change policy, and people who want to occupy land and bring it back to the commons. We need people who are going to create value added products. We need all of it, that, you know, and folks that are excited to work with animals, so folks with the soil, folks with water. And so just recognizing that this movement is like multifaceted, and everyone is there, and how we build international networks and learn and build a global movement for it and bridge our rural and urban communities, I think is a really important part of how we network as well.
That's great. We had a few questions in the chat about how does someone start this work? What's the first step? And I think we heard a lot of beautiful responses there. You know, show up to events, show up for your neighbors, share a meal with people. They're easy things. And like many of you spoken to, like so much of this is remembering what we've always known in some ways about being together and creating community. We have about 10 minutes left with our time. There's already been so much wisdom, lessons learned being shared here. I wonder if anyone else in the audience has questions that you'd love to hear from our panelists on, or if any of the panelists just have any sort of closing thoughts on like what's next for your work and anything else that's moving you right now.
Well, what's next for us is the Serenity Food Sovereignty Festival, which will be held June 24th through the 26th. A lot of our energy is focused on preparing for that festival. We're inviting other BIPOC-led organizations and communities to come camp with us, eat good food with us, network with us, listen to some amazing music with us, and tour the communities that are in this area, the intentional communities that have been practicing mutual aid for 50 plus years with each other. And it's a great time to come down and see what we are building, and see these other communities that are running worker-owned co-ops and thriving and having beautiful lives, and raising their kids and homeschooling them together. It's a really special place, and I invite you all to come here and experience it with us.
Agroecology Commons is getting ready for our second cohort of the Bay Area Farmer to Farmer training program this summer. The course is full. We're actually over capacity, and so we have to suggest some people to join us next year. But you can sign up for our newsletter and check that out if you're interested. Again, there, you don't have to just be a farmer to be a part of the movement. And a project that I'm personally really excited about is our cooperative tool lending and seed saving library. So it's going to be a hub for farmers that are a part of the network that have graduated from the farmer training course. As beginning farmers, the startup costs are exponential. So we're hoping to provide them with some basic tools, and not so basic tools, maybe even a tractor, so that they can come, they go to the library, they get the tools that they need, they get the seeds that they need, and it'll help mitigate those initial costs for starting a farm so that we can increase food access. And I'm gonna drop a link for our GoFundMe if that intrigues you at all. Yeah, we're always accepting donations to continue running the farmer training program and support them through apprenticeships, opportunities, mentorship opportunities, seed grants, and yeah, this tool lending library.
At Repair Nations, we are building on a lot for this year. We just got done with a online book club that Osman was doing on a weekly basis, and now we're transitioning to a work-based learning program where we have different cooperatives, local cooperatives that will help some interns with learning cooperative skills, entrepreneurship skills, and just how to basically be a cooperative. We're also doing an event for Juneteenth. If anybody is out in the Oakland community, June 20th, we're doing an event at Castlemont High School. We're gonna have some vendors, food, speaking on how different cooperative works, a basketball shootout, a chess competition. We're gonna have some different activities going, so it should be pretty nice. Also on August 20th, we're doing a mini pre-conference called Let's Build, where we'll have some different people around the globe speaking about different cooperative works and finances, resources, and things of that nature. And our cooperative conference that we have this year is between October the 6th to October the 9th. And you can follow us at repairnations.org, where we have all the information online at our website. And also we're on social media at repair.nations. Osman, is anything else you want to add, brother?
Yes, also follow us at Rosso Collective on Instagram. And that's soul like the sun, Raw Soul Collective. And yeah, let's stay connected, y'all. Appreciate all of y'all work that y'all doing. It's very inspiring.
Yeah. Can you add those links in Adam or yeah, I haven't seen them.
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm at Prospera. We are working. We do a summit every year for our community. So these are like weird situations. So it used to be in person. It's the past 2 years have been online. So we're now we share I forgot how you say encuesta. Someone help me. Survey. Thank you. So we share a survey among our community, so to see if it's going to be hybrid, if they prefer to be in person, if they feel safe. But it's going to be in Oakland. It's going to be around September. It's going to be also it's an opportunity. When it's in person, it's like the whole day, and so there's a space to have different workshops. We do have a panel normally, like around there, and we have a specific topic. There's a space also for the members that have, or participants that have their own businesses to have a small market there, so they can share what they're doing. And there's also, it's in Spanish though. I don't know if we're going to have interpretation, but it's in Spanish really. And so we're there. We're very excited. We want to make this in person so badly, but we don't want to, step over limits and that people feel uncomfortable. So we're trying to figure it out. But it's been an awesome opportunity the last 4 times I think we've done it. And it's the summit, and I will put here the website. And so if you want to check around September, there's going to be a banner where all the information. Yeah, and I'm so pleased to have had this opportunity to actually share this space with you all, and feel very honored. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. That is all the time we have for now. Deep gratitude to each of our panelists, to all the participants for showing up, sharing your stories, questions, resources. Thank you to our tech goddesses, Itzel and Winde, for holding down all the unseen labor. And just a final shout out to some more upcoming events that we have at the Law Center as part of Mutuality Month. You can check those out on our website. And we will make this recording available. Check our website probably in a couple of days, as well as our YouTube channel, which has recordings from so many conversations we've hosted. And I see a bunch of links have been dropped in the chat as well. So with that, would invite y'all to come off mute if that's accessible, and say goodbye to end with some sound together. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much, everyone.
Hey, peace and love, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Peace,
you.
y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Take care. Be
Thank
well.
you. Thank you, Self, for
Thanks,
all the work
everyone.
you do.
Thank you.